Stone Cold Steve Austin is arguably the most successful wrestler of all time. If you were around for his 1998 to 2002 run, you know it was like nothing else. It's why we all still watch Stone Cold pop compilations on YouTube. It's amazing. So you would think that everything that needs to be said about the rattlesnake has been said, but to that I say, challenge accepted. So I am Simon from What Culture. Please do subscribe, and thanks for tuning in. And this is 10 fascinating WWE backstage facts about the Bionic Redneck. Number 10, Bruce Willis inspired his bald head. Well, that and Mother Nature. Let's be honest here. Now, people still like to question whether Steve Austin would have been as successful if he had kept his long blonde hair, because the shave look just added to his menacing ways. I mean, it made him feel like a badass. Speaking on his podcast, though, back in the day, when Steve realized his hairline wasn't long for this world, he saw Bruce Willis's Pulp Fiction character Butch Coolidge and thought, well, he's pulling it off. Why can't I? That is why, if you do search for Stone Cold at the start of this run, it's more of a buzz cut than full-on baldness, when one day he grabbed a razor and just brought it down to 0. But do you want to know the main reason? Well, as Austin said on Up, Up, Down, Down, he thought with the little bit of fluff, he looked like a ragamuffin. Okay then. Number 9, he said nope to Mark Mero because of the Sable Bomb. What a world. Now, it is fair to say that Steve Austin took his character very seriously, which is one reason he made it to the top. There is no mucking around with the rattlesnake. So when WWE officials said they'd like him to do a program with Mark Mero, Stone Cold said no. And why? Well, yeah, because his wife Sable had given him the bomb of power. It's kind of unfair because Mero was such a pro, he sold the move in order to get the needed reaction from the crowd, but from Steve's perspective, it meant they couldn't do business as it would make him look weak. Do with that what you will. You may recall a time where the paths of Austin and Sable crossed backstage. This was due to the fact Vince McMahon wanted to do a love angle between these two, and Steve said, no, I don't want to do that either. Stone Cold doesn't do romance. So at least he was consistent. Number 8, he once got stuck in the shower trying to moonwalk. If you've never listened to Steve Austin podcast, you should for stories like this. Post his pro wrestling career though, he did dabble in acting and TV. One day he was on set having a shower, as you do, otherwise you're going to smell. He was listening to songs off his iPhone, and when Michael Jackson came on, the former world champion thought, hey, why don't I do a moonwalk? He was having a good time. It didn't go well, however, as after a few steps he fell over and got stuck in the shower, and as he went down, the sponge he was using to clean himself went up his ass. It gets better as Steve realized he had actually trapped himself, so had to dial 911 and get the fire department out to help him. I mean, can you imagine that scene? It's totally bonkers. Austin being Austin finished this tale by saying at least his rectum was super clean, though now you know this, you will never ever forget it. Number 7, the name Stone Cold was related to tea. This is quite a famous tale, but as I chatted to somebody the other day that didn't know, I thought we should talk about it here too. But yeah, after everybody realized the ringmaster was an awful gimmick, Austin began to work on a new character when he saw serial killer Richard Klinsky on TV. The dude was so emotionless, Steve thought there was something in this. Around the same time, he was married to English lady Jeannie Clark, and during one of his pondering sessions, she brought him a cup of tea. Austin was so lost in thought, Jeannie told him to drink it before it became Stone Cold, and bam! The light bulb went off, and it was Clark who said, you should use that. The true highlight is what the WWE creative team came up with during this interim period, including Chili McFreeze and Fang McFrost. You have no idea how sad I am we never got Chili McFreeze Steve Austin. Somebody really needs to get this sorted. Number 6, Dr. Death was the reason he became Steve Austin. That's right, because if you know your history, you know Dr. Death's full name was Dr. Death Steve Williams. So even though Steve Williams was Steve Williams, he couldn't be Steve Williams. What? This did become a problem when the future Stone Cold got onto bigger shows because Dr. Death was so well established, we couldn't have a dude with the same name. This was dropped on our Steve last second, which is when Dutch Mantell, who was helping run things, just told him, well look, if you've got nothing else, you're gonna be Steve Austin. Naturally there was pushback because this was based on the $6 Million Man, but by then, it was too late. Stunning Steve was announced as Stunning Steve Austin. Because he soon started to get some momentum, there was no going back. I think we can safely say it worked out, though, even if we did also dub him from Austin, Texas. I mean, that is the most wrestling thing ever. Number 5, Austin and Mick Foley loved to wind up DDP. Practical jokes were just a nice way of passing the time. Well, occasionally, figures like Mr. Fuji went well too far. Thankfully, Mick Foley's and Steve Austin's approach to this was far more jovial, and as they used to travel with DDP, they decided a great form of entertainment was trying to make Diamond Dallas Page break. How did they do this? cookies. Foley has told this story over and over and how during one WCW tour, him and Steve came up with the plan. As Page loved to walk around the hotel room they shared naked and wouldn't listen to reason, they filled his bed sheets with cookies to see how his unclothed body liked that. So that's what they did. Dallas soon realized what was up when he got back from the shower and probably got super annoyed, even more so when his frustration was met by howls of laughter from these two. I mean, I kinda love it. It's all water under the bridge now and they all speak about it with smiles on their faces, but DDP was so mad back then, he was definitely ready to bust out some diamond cuts. Number 4, he hates his WrestleMania match with Shawn Michaels. WrestleMania 14 is arguably the crowning moment of Stone Cold Steve Austin's career, at least up to that point, because he became the WWF champion. When it comes to Steve himself, though, he didn't like it. When it came to bell, he thought both could have done better. There are, of course, extenuating circumstances here, as the Heartbreak Kid could barely walk at the stage due to his back issues. So actually just making it to the ring was pretty darn impressive. He even gave it a 2 out of 5 rating, so he knows the deal, and a major down from the Rattlesnake was Mike Tyson's quick count. He does have a point. Why did that guy do that? Apparently the first thing Austin did when walking through the curtain 2 was tell Vince McMahon that it sucked. So there you go. It's just his nature. McMahon assured him that they go again tomorrow, which of course they did do. It's not like he had a choice. That's just how wrestling works. Number 3, he cost China a world title match. So given what we've already chatted about, this shouldn't be a massive surprise. Steve Austin saw wrestling in a very specific way, I suppose. If you do not know, though, China was breaking all kind of boundaries in the late 90s, and she was a badass. She got so over, the WWF tried feuding her with some men, and people loved that too. So look, ain't broke, let's just keep doing it. It all meant that one day the idea was pitched that the 9th wonder of the world should be in a world title match to see what the response would be. And if you do recall, she won a number 1 contender battle royal, and that's when we were gonna do it. It would have happened at SummerSlam with Austin and Triple H as the other participants. And when Steve heard about this, he nixed it instantly. Jim Ross has spoken about this on his podcast, and it just came down to the fact Austin was old school and didn't think a woman should be able to show any dominance against a man. We never got back to this as the real-life Johnny Lawler fell out with WWE and left the company, but still. At one point, this was pretty darn close. Number 2, he was hospitalized before WrestleMania 19. And it sounded damn scary. News broke as it always does with these things, so to hear that Stone Cold was in the hospital before a huge match with The Rock was not good. As it transpired, Austin had decided this was going to be his last night as an active performer, and he was so worried about it he began to throw back coffee and energy drinks, I suppose alcohol, like it was nothing. He also wasn't getting any sleep, and that is not good for your body. When Steve's heart felt like it was thumping out of his chest, he was swiftly sent to get help. Doctors told him he should stay in hospital for the weekend, but surprise, surprise, the Rattlesnake wasn't going to do that. He had a plan, and it was to put over The Rock. It really does make this match even better because how on earth did he do it? I suppose wrestlers are a different breed, but look, he was not in a good way, and he still walked out there and gave the performance of his life. Number 1, he suffered an unfortunate accident with Yokozuna. So this is not as uncommon as you may think. I don't know whether that's a good or a bad thing. When Steve Austin appeared on Hot Ones, though, the Fire Chicken must have put him in a truthful mood, because when chatting about a house show match he had against Yokozuna in New Zealand, he said that, yep, he got slammed and pooped his pants. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. His big takeaway was thank goodness he was wearing black trunks, and as soon as the bell signaled for the end, he got up and he legged it to the shower, or at least hopefully the toilet. So there is an embarrassing work story for you, but again, you can do a quick Google. He is certainly not alone. Know of anybody else that pooped their pants during wrestling and maybe other stories we don't know about Stone Cold Steve Austin? Make sure you drop us a comment below before you like the video, share the video, and like we've already talked about, please do subscribe. You can also read more articles like this at whatculture.com. You can follow us on social media at whatculturewwe and Simon Miller 316, but the biggest takeaway today has to be thanking you for tuning in and stopping by. It means the world to us, and I look forward to doing it again with you very, very soon. Hug, kiss, hug, kiss, hug, kiss.